So, tell us something about your impression about Casey.
For us, he was not what we call very friendly, or he was somewhat aloof. But all of us, at least some of us, realized that this place was unique, and he was responsible for that. Once, remember, interesting incident. I was talking to the registrar or some other office, and Allardyce, who was the chief administrative officer of that one, came into the room, and then he talked a few words and went away. Then I was told that that I didn't when he came, I didn't stand up or something. Then I related this to Chandrasekharan. I think there was a stiff note or from Casey wrote to Allardyce, and that afterwards I think no such thing was heard of. And as you see, he has, there is certainly a rough exterior. It seemed sort of daunting in the beginning, but when I began to discuss a little mathematics, and later, what is, as I said, this intellectual humility was the, you see, he was so happy. He was, somebody did your work. So it says lemma, even a lemma proved from that. Then he was a completely changed person, and that was his great aspect, and also the way in which he could promote very promising people. That was very talented people. That was, I think, never done in India, and probably at the Statistical Institute also it happened. This was certainly he made a unique place in the country, and of course we were surprised that he was, why he left.
Did you have any contacts with Baba?
Baba used to, the faculty dinners, Baba used to, he was, I thought Baba was, Casey used to talk much, but Baba didn't talk much at all in this. He was quite natural, except, he had to, he used to do like this very often. Baba, there was this, he used to support every promotion. Baba used to invite people and give that one in person, but all the time he would call in the morning, and I won't be ready, and I could go.
How about Kosambi? Do you have any contacts with him?
No.
No, none at all.
No.
Tell us about Ramanathan.
Ramanathan was a very interesting man, full of contradictions, I would say. It was Ramanathan who used to say about our Princeton seminar, and how Morse used to sleep and then suddenly wake up and ask good questions, and several gossips, etc., on mathematics and Ziegel's work, Ziegel's compactification, etc. These things were very nice. But on the other hand, there was also a certain browbeating attitude to him, and his judgment was I think, rather poor. And actually, I had a bad experience in that. I was lecturing on something, and he thought that I was following a different book, and I didn't read Ziegel or something. and my relations with that in that sense were not good, but I should say that also the suggestion, Wales' paper, I read because he used to say that. Apart from that, Ramanathan, I had a very difficult relation with him. And I was the dean, it was the worst period for the relation with Ramanathan.
So when did you embark on study of standard monomials, the Schubert varieties and that kind of stuff?
You see, it is when Musilli became, when Musilli, one of my students, I wanted to suggest some problems. It was connected with on Grassmannians, etc., and connected with invariant theory, and therefore I asked some questions about the Grassmannian, or it was actually C.P. Ramanujan had done this work, but then found out it was Igusa or somebody else who has done this. And therefore, I suggested this to Musilli, and then the study of Schubert varieties, which was done in Hodge's book, then that is how it started. Therefore, the Schubert varieties are not homogeneous, but partially sort of, they have singularities, and then the collaboration with Lakshmi Bai started. Actually, I was interpreting the work of Procesi and De Concini. Found out that you could arrive at some conjectures, and Lakshmi Bai was helped in that at a very crucial stage, and standard monomials. And within 2 years, I think we had proved all that of them also for all classical groups, and the conjecture for the general group was done by Lakshmi Bai also. And
so you deserted the French school and shifted to the British school, so to speak.
British, yeah.
You've stuck with standard monomial theory ever since.
No,
No?
no. Actually, when I came back, you see, when the new institution in Institute of Mathematical Sciences, the students were selected. You see, you had to give them problems. See, actually, I wanted to study number theory at that time, probably that was. But when there are students, you have to give them some approachable problems. The one was, then I went back to my, actually the two things which I did on what is called the Giesecker compactification was done in rank 2. I did that, and the parabolic bundles for any general group was done with the aid of Balaji, and also the old I had attempted a proof of a conjecture of Mumford in my paper. That was I did that, this one here. For by connection with standard, whenever Lakshmi Bai used to come, we used to discuss this one, and then forget this. Then she will. Therefore, some of those papers were written were conceived much earlier, and published much later, and it was, yeah. In the sense, after I went to, there were really new ideas. It was either again with vector bundles, moduli of vector bundles, and especially
principal bundles.
Huh?
Also recently principal bundles. Principal bundles.
Principal bundles. This was principal bundles. That was there was a paper with Balaji also, and the ideas. It was a pursuit of the same themes, either standard monomials, Schubert varieties, or vector bundles, or its generalizations, parabolic structure, which was when I really substantially new, you would say. That why I didn't. Yeah.
We have not touched upon what has turned out to be a very important insight of yours, that your ampleness criterion.
Yeah, the ampleness criterion, I proved it. That was one of the techniques I used for the solving Mumford's conjecture. Though I was disappointed that I couldn't solve that, it was done by Habush. The strategy was very nice, and I could carry it and did it after I came here.
Using this theorem of Sean Keel, right?
Sean Keel.
Right.
Actually, I believe that it should be, if somebody looks with his stacks and knowledge and this one, there could be a much, that is something there to do, I think, for people to work at that. And I think it could be done in a completely sort of geometric way. It is the Steinberg's theorem suddenly comes from the, what is, and then you saw the problem is solved.
You should ask about CMI.
Yeah, after the move to Madras.
Yes.
First math science, then CMI.
Yeah.
You moved to Madras in 1984, 85?
84.
84. And when was the CMI created? When was the SPIC Science Foundation?
89.
89.
I was there in Institute of Mathematical Sciences for 5 years.
5 years.
And it was doing very well, and but unfortunately there was some thing with George Sudarshan, which I don't want to go in any detail. Because of that, I was quite disappointed. I mean, quite unhappy. Then one of my friends was Parthasarathi, because of my musical friend. Then he started the SPIC Science Foundation. Then he said, "Why don't you join?" Then we wanted. I remember Tyagarajan, who also joined in computer science in the school of when I was in math science, and Balu, who joined the
This is
Institute of
Balasubramaniam.
Balasubramaniam joined the. He was the only senior person from Tata Institute to come and.
You mean IMSC?
IMSC.
Yeah.
And then joined there. And at that time, Balasubramaniam, Tyagarajan, and myself went to meet Bhuttaya to said we would be willing to start. And then it seemed as though the problems raised by that would be solved. Therefore, then anyway, Bhuttaya asked, "Why don't you probably wait for a year or something?" The problems were nearing to be solved, but I was somewhat unhappy, and I took a decision. I decided to move to SPIC, and then it assumed the name of Chennai Mathematical Institute, because
That was which year was that?
I don't know.
By the time the name came, SPIC was no longer funding the institution.
See, the name was changed because some people felt that, as you know, that the funding for SPIC, for the Chennai Mathematical Institute or for the SPIC Mathematical Institute, was from Muthaiya, practically. And then, after some time, it was they didn't SPIC was not doing well, and our fund was getting. Then I approached the Atomic Energy Commission, and Chidambaram began to start this one. And therefore, we wanted money from private sources. People said, if you have the name SPIC, you won't get any money. And then somehow it was changed to Chennai Mathematical Institute.
So now it has completed more than 25 years.
17, 20, yeah,
Well, we celebrated over 25 years relatively recently.
28 years, yeah, no?
No, we celebrated 25 years relatively recently.
Yeah,
28
I
years,
said
yeah.
complete more than 25 years is what I said, yes. So, what do you think is the future of this institution?
My view is that I realized that this that Tata, frankly, I thought the Tata Institute having only research in mathematics and being the only place is quite bad, because I think many of the people should be spread elsewhere and also teach. Because when I first visited Harvard, the bot was lecturing on calculus. One of the great mathematicians lecturing on calculus. I felt very ashamed. We are lead a very easy life, and just justifying yourself on research all the time is very difficult for a mathematician. Some people have ideas for 10 years, or Gödel or something, and then what do? You don't teach even that. And also the teaching also helps, teaching graduate courses and an organized system. But this was only for, I never thought, I was not a kind of natural to want to do something of this kind. It was only table conversation or my mind. When I went to Michigan University in the US, what a student's life is fantastic. The canteens and the discussions and music was there. And I went to UCLA in the US. There was Indian musician was Sarod, not Sarod, that is Imran Khan, I think. He was the Surbahar. You just walk across, you can hear him, and there are so many interesting activities. And the university, and then I think that people like only for research, only very few people should be given this one. And actually, I find that some of those people also, most of these people are also wonderful for teaching. See, Mumford was selected for the Institute for Advanced Study. I mean, then he refused. He said, I don't.
Yeah. Athiya also stayed there only for 2 years and Athiya
Athiya
stayed there only for 2 years and left.
Left, yeah.
You should say for the record that you have this dream of CMI of not only mathematics but many subjects and of course a cultural life, and to a modest extent you have achieved that. There is computer science, there is theoretical physics, and occasionally music.
Yeah, my dream or my wish is that this place should be developed like a great university model, where I think when you have undergraduates, actually we find so many very good students now. You see, they should be inspired. Casey used to say in those days, remember, Grothendieck, at least people should see him first, to get inspiration for that. I mean, here is Grothendieck, one of the, and then it inspires young people. And also, you don't know, you may be interested in thing and probably you find you are interested in maybe in physics, or maybe in literature even. You see, and there are so many things to do, and we want very talented people, and mathematical training will not be useless will be very useful for this. I think that is the thing but going to that Speak Science Foundation, then initially it was a teaching institute, research, but all the time I was thinking we should start it. But with some difficulty, I don't want to go into it was not easy to do kind of thing, but finally we have done that. And also not being a narrow place only for mathematics. Mathematics and computer science was envisaged for undergraduate to attract young people to do math. But even if they don't become mathematicians, having that computer science background, they will get good jobs. That was the idea for computer science. And physics, I thought it was the closest thing to mathematics in sciences is physics, and part of physics is almost undistinguishable from mathematics now. And arts also, I think it should have. The only modest beginnings have been made, and one requires funds. That is the problem for the institutes.
Let me ask you a few philosophical questions about. I mean, how do you explain to a layperson what you do by way of mathematics? Is it possible at all?
I find it very difficult to explain mathematics. You see, in physics, they have you can use common language to convey ideas. I don't know how to. I think some people can do it, but I don't. I'm incapable of doing it.
Do you know of any mathematician who does a good job of it? Of trying to communicate to lay people what the nature of their work is?
I think Atiyah can probably do it, Mumford can do it, because he is not only interested in maths, but he is also interested in artificial intelligence. So such people can do it. Of course, it's a philosophical question. You see, what is undecidability of Gödel's theorem? That enters into philosophical questions. But that could be a starting point, mathematical logic, and that could be.
Well,
number theory probably can be done. Number theory can be done, I think, yeah. Fermat's questions, after all, you can explain to him.
yeah, but I mean, can you explain the process, how you think and things that kind? I don't suppose that's possible.
Yeah, you know, there was this psychology of invention by Hadamard. There was Hadamard, Poincaré. They have talked about psychology of. It is a book there, I think.
Yeah.
And we require also such people. I think there are people very.
There's another question. Can you term mathematics as a social activity, social practice? Like, would you think of?
I don't think so. But as a social activity, see, mathematics was considered the most purest, and Hardy used to always say that it is not spoiled by applications or something. But one knows now, anything you discover in mathematics, even is applied now.
Would you say that so mathematics helps promote so-called scientific temper?
I am sort of cynical.
Skeptical about it.
Skeptical about such things.
Maybe distemper.
Huh?
Maybe scientific distemper.
I don't think so. I find many of the very creative people, apart from that, they are most unscientific. When they get angry and jealousies and what is, but I always think that there was a film on Mozart. What is that movie? I think then Mozart says, I may be not a but my music is, I am not a, personally I am not a very good, may be considered even mean, but not my music. Therefore, this science implies, gives you scientific temper. This scientific temper is itself, I think, I don't like such words, because they are easily used, and if you want to think about it a little more, what is scientific temper?
Would you agree with the statement that mathematics is more art than science?
No, it is both, I think. because the methodology of his mathematics is scientific, in the sense it is the most rigorous of all the, I mean it has an purely internal structure, that is, mathematics could be appreciated without any applications, say number theory or something. Therefore, it has its own structural beauty, which is like music. It's one of the great intellectual activities, I think. I would say mathematics is one of the greatest intellectual activities, and the achievement of modern society from the 20th century is one of the most beautiful intellectual creations of humankind. I would say that.
But it does stand a little apart from other sciences. In fact, if you look at Newton's great work, the title is Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. So it looks as if mathematics stays a little apart.
But I'm seeing, yeah.
And the motivation of what problem a mathematician pursues is often based on aesthetics and not practical considerations.
Yeah, in history both appear, no? There are, Poincaré used to be said that nature gives you the problems. Therefore, but he was doing with mathematics of the finest kind, and therefore you get problems. It may be, for example, Laplacian or something. They were used in physics or something, but the whole, then it throws up an idea, and it is integrated into the mathematics as a purely intellectual structure without any applications or it. I mean, as a,
and the pursuit becomes exploring those structures, making the so-called original motivation irrelevant.
Irrelevant, yes.
So that's like art.
Yeah, it's exactly. That's like art. But that is the beauty of mathematics also. The whole number theory is but number theory uses, anyway, that's a very interesting question to.
And
finally, is there something Indian about mathematics done in India?
That's, I think that is one. Mathematics is a universal. Indians contributing to mathematics. That there is no called Indian mathematics or French mathematics, or it's a universal language, I think.
This question makes sense in the context of people talking about so-called Vedic mathematics, as if it's something very special, nothing to do with mathematics in general.
No, we all agree. This is more political than.
Let me ask you one sort of. How important is character to a mathematician?
Yeah, it's character in the sense of not moral or.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, sort of.
You see, of course, character. Of course, mathematics is like music in the sense of it has to have gifts. It is not that everybody can sing or this one. Mathematics has a certain special kind of capacity. The character comes in also, the sustained. You take a problem and you work on it in a sustained manner, and
at least when you are working on it, you are not thinking about extraneous things like rewards and awards and recognition. I mean, somehow you kind of, there is a focus. No, I mean,
no. Yeah. That I just want to say that.
Yeah.
That maybe he can be inspired by rewards also. Like Mozart, what we said.
Okay.
That is, let us not.
Okay.
I mean by character, certain, the strength of character, the sense, you can, you don't, there may be a failure, then it finishes you off.
Okay.
Then, you believe and then go ahead.
Okay.
And then, therefore, that kind of
strength of,
strength of character,
mind.
I would say.
And so this, to people young or old who are interested in mathematics or passionate about mathematics, do you have any advice?
No, I don't like to advise people. Mathematics is a wonderful subject. It has the great internal beauty. And once you are, I would say that if somebody is interested in mathematics, one should not yield to peer pressure, saying don't pursue that. Peer pressure because you want to do something else. You are very gifted in mathematics and don't want to do it for reasons that doesn't fetch you money. Actually, mathematics is quite a paying profession nowadays because of its. If you are really gifted in mathematics, pursue it. But it's a hard thing to be a professional mathematician also. That requires a certain strength of character.